And first up is a armed robbery that occurred in Laurel Hill. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is searching for a robber who injured a Laurel Hill man back on April 19th during a struggle over a wallet. Now, the 26-year-old victim says he was at the Gulf Coast Monument Company there on Martin Drive in Crestview about 9 a.m. when a man approached him, pulled out a knife and demanded his wallet. Now, there was a struggle. He was injured, not seriously, however, but he described the suspect as being a very dirty male, slim, about 5'7" to 5'9", and was wearing a dark green sweatshirt with a hood, a dark blue hat, and very dirty jeans, and some black sunglasses. So anybody with information about the identity of this robber, please call Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers at 863-TIPS.
And next up, we have a case from the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. They need information about several recent copper thefts in the city. And actually, this is a problem all over Okaloosa County, seeing it pretty much everywhere. In March and April in the city, numerous businesses reported copper had been stripped from air conditioning units. And they're asking anyone with information who wants to remain anonymous and be eligible for the cash reward to call Crime Stoppers 863-TIPS, or of course go to the website. I do want to mention that Okaloosa Deputy Sheriff Clara Thomas actually caught someone in the act yesterday, which would have been what, May
11th.
May 11th. A copper thief stealing copper from an air conditioning unit from a business over on the Lewis Turner Boulevard, I think it was, and investigator Matt Abbott responded. So maybe this person might end up being tied to some others. We don't know.
I'm guessing it's not his first
time. But this is
a
major problem. So if you have any information on that for the city of Fort Walton Beach, they'd love to hear about it.
And next up, we're attempting to identify a Fort Walton Beach vehicle burglary suspect, and you can take a look at these photos. The Sheriff's Office is trying to identify a white male suspect that was seen on security tape burglarizing a car that was parked in front of the Circle K there on Racetrack Road back on April 23rd. And if you look at the vehicle in this photo, you will see that the suspect was a passenger in this car. So if you know that car or that suspect, give us a call, 863-TIPS.
And the Shalimar Police Department is trying to identify a vehicle burglar. On the 9th of April, shortly after midnight, there were a rash of burglaries with suspects targeting unlocked vehicles. The Shalimar Police Department had 7 reports, with one also reporting the theft of a golf cart. Now, one of the victims was able to get some video surveillance of a suspect rummaging through a vehicle on Sarah Drive. Shows a white male about 5'5" to 5'9" with baggy pants and a heavy-set build. And it also shows someone operating the stolen golf cart. This occurred in the proximity of Shalimar Drive and Richburg Avenue. And they took the typical things like a pocketbook, GPS, and loose change, that sort of stuff.
Right, and again, we do want to remind folks, and I know that several investigators with several agencies would like to remind folks that locking your vehicles will significantly decrease your chance of becoming a victim of these, because a lot of these folks, what they're doing, and the same thing with the Circle K one, they're going around pulling on handles to see which doors are unlocked. So thieves are thieves because they don't want to work hard.
We always say easy pickings. That's what they're looking for. Don't make it easy.
Next up, the Fort Walton Beach Police Department is asking for information about a pigeon drop scam that occurred on April 12th outside the Publix store there by the Brooks Bridge at the Paradise Point Shopping Center. The victim was approached by a black female, and the suspect called herself Helen Rose. Now, while the suspect struck up a conversation with the victim, another white female approached them. She introduced herself as Olivia Lancaster. And Lancaster showed the suspect and the victim a wallet that she had claimed to have found. Now, inside the wallet, of course, was a large sum of money. And Lancaster advised her boss was a financial planner who could help them. The victim was basically conned into putting up $2,400 of her own money as a bond for the found money. And this is actually a common scam. It's been something that has happened throughout the years, and you see it surface every once in a while. But the Fort Walton Beach Police Department is trying to get any information about these 2 suspects. One of them, the black female Helen Rose, slim build, between 50 to 60 years old, with a crooked lower teeth and wore brown frame glasses. She drove a newer model Nissan 4-wheel drive, unknown state tag, but the vehicle did have a large scratch on the passenger side door, almost to the front passenger door. And then the second suspect, who called herself Olivia Lancaster, was described as short and stocky, approximately 30 years old, with brown hair. So anybody that may have information, that's something we certainly don't want happening anywhere else.
Yeah, and obviously be aware that that type of scam is circulating.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, investigators with the Sheriff's Office are trying to identify this white female that was involved in a fraud that occurred at the Publix in Mary Esther back on March 31st. At around 1:30 in the afternoon, the female wrote a check on an account that doesn't exist, and she presented a Florida driver's license without a valid number. So they tried to check everything out and didn't have any luck. Thought maybe someone out there might have some information on this female.
And next up, we've got some good news to report. Tips to Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, along with calls from concerned citizens, actually helped prompt an investigation by the Sheriff's Office that led to the discovery of a meth lab up in the north part of the county. The Sheriff's investigators with the Drug Task Force and some members of patrol actually executed a search warrant at a meth lab on Magnolia Lane in Crestview back on April 27th, and investigators arrested Martin Harold McDonald and Philip William Ragsdale for trafficking in methamphetamine, manufacturing methamphetamine, and a few more charges. But when they got there, they actually found an active cook in progress. So this was really a big bust, and this is exactly the kind of success that we're looking for with Crime Stoppers, you know, when you see something called.
Yeah, that was a perfect example.
Panned out, so thank you to everybody.
And we have another guest today, and that's a familiar face here. That's Diane Conroy, who after devoting much of her life helping this, to this TV station, now devoting a lot of your time and energy to helping people that go through traumatic incidents, and that's with the TIP program. And first of all, I know we've chatted with you before, but there are people out there that might not be familiar with TIP, so tell them what that's about.
TIP stands for trauma, trauma intervention program. And it was begun in 1985 on the West Coast by somebody who looked around one day and discovered that all the attention was going to the person who was injured or fatally, in a fatality. And no one was paying any attention to the people who were left behind. As a matter of fact, in some cases, they were treated in a way that could even be said to be cruel. So he thought it would be a good idea to take just plain everyday citizens and train them very well and set up this system called Trauma Intervention Program, or TIP. And we go to the scene. We are called by first responders. We can't just stop by the side of the road and say, "You have an accident, can I help?" even though we would like to. We are called by first responders to wherever the scene is. I spend a lot of time in emergency rooms. And then we go deliver what we call emergency first aid. As an EMT goes to an accident and stabilizes the victim of the accident and then gets the person to the professionals, not that EMTs aren't professionals, to the hospital where they can be taken care of. We go and emotionally stabilize the individual until someone can get there. Ministers, priests, family, neighbors, and until they get through that first, our normal call is 2 hours. The first horrible 2 hours till we get their feet on the ground, we get them breathing, we see that they're all right, and then we kind of fade into the background and go about our business. And that's pretty much who we are and what we do.
And I think there is such a need for a service like this. Are you actually recruiting volunteers? And if so, what kind of volunteers are you looking for?
Well, I often say what makes a really good volunteer, you need a compassionate heart and about that much common sense. Because a lot of it is, we call it doing the dance. You follow the lead of the person you are with. I came steaming in here to do this interview from a call. I had just come from a call way out past Navarre. And in this case, I spent a lot of time just sitting. I'm right here, I'm right here, until everything settled down and we got him taken care of and we got the funeral home there and the plans made, and at that point I was able to turn him back over to someone else.
So people with a genuine caring for other people who are willing to take the time that you need to take to sit them through the first traumatic moments while they adjust. Now, if people out there are hearing this and saying, this is something that I think I could do and would like to do, how can they get involved?
The best way is to call our dispatch number, which is 934-6654. That's 934-5564. Or I have two sites for you, websites. Our local one is www.tip- not underline, dash, there it is, ser.org. The national organization is www.titnational.org, and you can find just about everything you will need to know either at that telephone number or those two. The training begins in Okaloosa County on the 2nd of June and in Escambia County on the 9th of June, a week apart. And let me explain the training to you briefly, since that's why we're here. We train, usually starts Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and we do that for a couple of weeks. And the reason we do it with that unusual schedule is a lot of our volunteers work.
Right.
And they can come to the training. The training is approximately 55 hours of book work and classroom work and out in the field. And you must make every hour. After that, we ask you to sign up for 3 7-hour shifts a month, and you get to pick the shifts. If you like nights, that's fine. I don't particularly, but I am retired now, so I work weekdays. I leave the weekends and night shifts for people who work.
And you're on call, so you may or may not get called out, depending on what's going on.
That's right. I went for about 2 months, and I didn't get a call. It was a dry spell. I thought maybe I ought to go back through training. But I normally get called more often when I'm not on call, than when I am. And that's simply because things happen. You get 2 calls at once. You run low on volunteers, which we are right now. Somebody gets sick, we have lives too, and when that happens, the dispatcher just starts down calling the list and gets somebody like me at 6 o'clock in the morning who says, sure, I'll go, where am I?
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, and you just heard it, they said you're low on volunteers.
Yeah.
So if you're out there watching this and you're thinking, this is something that I know that I could do, I would be good at, I'm interested in helping other people, this is a perfect opportunity to really make a difference in helping people at a critical moment. So the information's there for you to get involved, and thank you, Diane, for all that you do and for coming on to share this with other people so they can maybe get involved as well.
It's my pleasure, and I thank you all very much for having me. It feels like I'm home.
You are home, no doubt about it. Okay, and we will be right back.